If I had to sum up Nacho in 3 words, they would be leadership, integrity, and kindness.
Ygnacio Garza, better known as Nacho to his friends and colleagues, was born into a large family in Brownsville, Texas. He grew up with an appreciation for the city's history, its unique position as a bicultural border community, and of course, its natural wonders.
Growing up in Brownsville, one of my best friends, his family had a ranch north of Raymondville. I'd get to go out with him in the summertime to spend time on his ranch. Probably the first exposure I had to the South Texas brush country. Then obviously South Padre Island and the whole living on a beach and the animals and the birds that came there.
In his adult life, Nacho's career took him in several directions. In one, he began a path toward nearly 5 decades as a certified public accountant, which he continues to this day. In another, he was elected mayor of Brownsville, serving from 1987 to 1991. It was in this role that he formed a greater understanding of how conservation can help communities thrive. And it all started when he asked a simple question to a group of tourists with cameras and binoculars.
I walked over and asked him, "Well, what are y'all doing?" He says, "Oh, we're looking at the birds." I said, "What birds?" "Well, the parakeets and the parrots." So I started asking him, "Well, where did you all come from?" "Well, I'm from Indiana. I'm from Canada. I'm from Illinois." And I said, "You came all this way to see those birds?" You go, "Yes." "And you're staying at the hotels?" "Yes." "And you're eating at our restaurants?" "Yes." I thought to myself, we're going to take care of those birds.
"1991 was a big year for Nacho. He was appointed to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission by Governor Ann Richards, ultimately serving as chair. Nacho would accomplish great things over his 6 years there, and the key to getting things done would be building strong relationships.
I met Nacho Garza at the time of his confirmation by the Texas Senate as a member of the Parks and Wildlife Commission. Nacho Garza is a gifted political leader who came to his appointment as chairman of the commission at exactly the right time, because we had a number of very, very difficult political issues during that period. And although I had worked with political leaders all of my adult life, I learned something from him every day, and we would not have gotten through many of those difficult moments without his calmness, his experience, and his dedication to conservation.
The Texas State Park System was started almost 100 years ago, with the centennial of the first Texas State Park coming up in 2023. As our state parks grew and expanded over time, it became clear that funding for these natural spaces required growth and transformation too.
We used to be funded with taxes charged on cigarettes. And we had in 1991, the number of people smoking in Texas was declining, which meant that the revenues going to support state parks were declining. And so we figured out a new way to fund state parks. What we identified was the sales taxes charged on sporting goods. And we made the case that people who use the state parks were probably out there buying sporting goods.
Nacho put his public policy and people skills to the test with the sporting goods sales tax. With Representative Renee Oliveda as sponsor, he had a champion for the bill as it went through each step of the process, including committees in the Texas House and Senate, and then back to the full Texas House and Senate for votes.
But you knew pretty much as it progressed whether it was going to be successful or not. Pete Laney was the Speaker of the House, and he was supportive of the bill. And Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock was in charge of the Senate. He was very helpful and supportive of the bill. So although we had been told it couldn't be done, it seemed like it moved along because we had the help and support from a lot of the members and a lot of people external to the legislature.
Even after Nacho and his colleagues led a win for state and local park funding through the sporting goods sales tax, the amount of money that would be allocated to parks was still undecided.
It wasn't until 2019, with Proposition 5, that two of the subsequent chairmen, Joe Fitzsimmons and Dan Allen Hughes, led the charge to pass Proposition 5, which dedicated 100% and made sure that 100% of the money collected from a sporting goods sales tax went to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
We immediately recognized that the biggest problems facing the department were spelled M-O-N-E-Y, and that particularly related to parks. And so we had to conceive of a way to bring private philanthropy into the revenue mix. And to do that, what we did was we created a foundation. In the beginning, it was run by just 2 or 3 members of our staff, including myself. But Nacho recruited a former chairman of the commission, whose name was Ed Cox Jr., to become the first real chairman of the foundation, and to date it's raised over $200 million for conservation in Texas. And philanthropy has become an integral part of what that department does. Nacho is an incredibly worthy awardee for the Harvey Weil. If for no other reason than he exemplified the view at Parks and Wildlife among commissioners that fish and animals cannot be Democrats or Republicans. Nacho became chairman of the commission when the majority of the board had been appointed by a previous Republican governor. So the Democratic appointees were the minority on the commission. But yet at the same time, during that period, it was one of the most successful in Parks and Wildlife history because Nacho was able to be nonpartisan and still accomplish some of the major issues that not only affect us today, but will affect us well into the future.
Sitting here 30 years later, I think the things that we did and we were able to accomplish as a group 30 years ago are still working today, are still relevant today, because their focus was we were doing things not for the short term. We were doing things for people who weren't born yet. And I think that philosophy still applies, because as the foundation continues, as the sporting goods sales tax continues, you're really preserving and protecting and doing projects that will benefit people who aren't even here yet. As far as children's children will see, and their children will see, hopefully, the Texas we knew and grew up in.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2022 Rotary Club of Corpus Christi, Harvey Weil Sportsman Conservationist of the Year Award, Ygnacio Garza, a man for all seasons.